welcome to Capuchin TV and to this special program which we call Taking Care of Your Psycho-Spiritual Well-Being. My name is Joyzy, Pius, Egunjobi, Reverend Father, and I'm the one directing this program. Today we continue on the issue of addiction. And not just that, we'll also be entertaining calls today. If you have any question on the episode so far, especially on the topic we are dealing with, an addiction, we'll be very much interested to answer your question if you have. Again, we continue on this episode of the addiction. This is episode 4 of the addiction. And today we'll be looking at addiction and the brain.
But before we begin, we need to recap a little bit. Last week, we did talk about what causes addiction, and we look at it from the biopsycho-social-techno-spiritual perspective. We look at it from the biologically, that of course our gene, our brain activities, and a lot of things can actually cause us addiction. We look at it from psychological perspective, from the learning theory. And also we talked about how our mental health situation can actually make us be prone to addiction, and how our addictive behavior to a particular substance or alcohol or other drugs can actually make us to have some mental health disorders. And we also look at how our social interactions, the family in which we live in, can contribute to our addiction, the environment, the peer pressure, even our thirst or yearning to experiment can be the beginning of us walking in the path of addiction. We also talked about how technology can also be, get us into, can also cause us that. And then especially because when we are using technology, we have these wow experiences that also in a way connect to our biology, and then that make us to be prone to want to continue to do this addictive behavior. And we also look at how spirituality, our connectedness, can be the cause of our addiction. If you are disconnected from ourselves, from others, and of course from God, how it can make us to be can be part to addiction, or even when we get addicted, how we actually get disconnected. That is what we talked about last week. Today we'll be talking about addiction and how it relates in a way to the brain, and that is why it's usually called the brain disease. Addiction is called a brain disease because a lot of activities go on in the brain. And especially when we are looking at the AOD addiction, which is the alcohol and other drugs addiction, we tend to look at it more in terms, because these are chemicals. They are chemicals, and they have chemical components that sometimes inhibit or exhibit or not just that, or mimic the chemicals that we have in the brains. There are some kind of chemicals, like I've spoken about before, in our brain that actually make us to be prone to addiction, because these chemicals on their own in the brain, they actually act to regulate our systems, our mood, our joy, our happiness. Like if you talk about serotonin, for example, that actually moderates our mood, and we talk about the dopamine that make us feel euphoric, feelings and the feeling of goodness, and these are just natural chemicals in our brain. Another one is GABA and the rest. So the chemicals in the different alcohol and the other drugs also, they can mimic or they can block I'm not going to go into that area to look at how the cells, what we call the neural communication, the communications between one cell and another cell in our brain that make us do what we want to do. But we'll be looking at these different drugs and how they actually target our brain, and then our brains actually respond to them. Of course, when we talk about AOD, alcohol and other drugs, we are talking about the psychoactive drugs, which can be uppers, we'll call it uppers, downers, or all-arounder. According to Idaba, Dr. Idaba. You know, the uppers are what they call the stimulants, and the downers are the depressants, and the all-arounder are those ones that actually act both as stimulants and a depressant. Take, for instance, nicotine that we find in cigarettes can act like that. Sometimes it could be an upper, you know, make you to be excited, and another time it could be a downer that actually to calm down when you are anxious. So we can group these upper, downers, and all-arounder into 4 groups, and one into the what we call the stimulant, like I said earlier, and then the other one is the depressant. Then we have the hallucinogen, and of course we do have what we call psychedelic or the narcotic drugs. So for the stimulants, we have things like caffeine. I know many of us in Kenya here, we drink a lot of tea, and you can imagine yourself, why do you drink tea? It's because it stimulates you. It keeps a lot of people awake to be functional during the day, and that's why you see that sometimes when you have not taken your tea, you may begin to have a headache, or you've started feeling funny. So until you take tea before you begin to feel okay, it's because the tea, there's an ingredient in tea which we call caffeine that actually stimulates you. So we call it stimulants. It's also in chocolate. Those of you who like black chocolate, or you take Coca-Cola, you know, you take Mountain Dew. You find them in that, and then those are stimulants. We also have depressant, like alcohol is a depressant. Sometimes some people have actually said it's also a stimulant. Well, we can't dispute that, because, you know, our bodies are different. The way you react to a particular chemical may not be the way I react to the same chemical. So, but in the general terms, we see alcohol as a depressant also. And of course, we have like Valium. I know many of you use Valium. Some call it Valium. It doesn't matter what you call it. Which actually is over-the-counter medication in some countries, and it's prescriptive drugs in some countries, and which actually make us to sleep anyway. So it has an ingredient in it that actually calms us down, you know, and of course can make you to sleep, to relax. That's why we use that. We also have hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are all these kind of drugs that honestly they can affect your perception. You can begin to see angels, or not just angels. You can even begin to see Jesus Christ sitting down beside you, or you begin to see demons, because you can see things. So we call it hallucinogens. We have example of them like LSD, like mescaline. You have the PCP and the rest. They are very strong, and then they can actually alter the way your brain actually activates its perception, that you begin to see things that are not seen on the ordinary time, ordinarily. And you have narcotics. Narcotics, we use them a lot. Many of us use paracetamol, you have used the ibuprofen, you have used the hydrocodone, you have used oxycodone, a lot of things like that. There are these narcotics, actually, they work so much, like many of you, if you have had surgery, you must have used narcotic, because those things they give to you that makes you not to feel the pain, they are narcotics. And then we have in terms of drugs, we have the heroin, for example, and that is why, you know, if somebody is given heroin, what happens is that when you even cut the person's hand, you may not even know you have just cut the hand, and you see the blood gushing out, and can begin to tell you, wow, see blood gushing out, and yet it's not feeling the pain, until when the drugs begin to finish its job in the body, that you begin to know. And what happens is that, of course, I said all this is the activity of the brain. The brain controls a lot of things, and that we can never imagine, and we are still yet to understand the activities. I mean, what our brain is capable of. But I bet you what to think, what to feel, and most of the time what you do are initiated from your brain. So alcohol and other drugs in particular, what they do is that the target is the brain. I'll put it this way: they target our nervous system, central nervous system, which consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and of course all those things here, they relate so much together, and they communicate in such a way that they make us to feel, to think again, to do what we have to do. So when the drugs you take now target the brain, you need to be watchful on what exactly you take in, because whatever route of administration of this drug, whether you smoke it or you snort it or you inhale it or you inject it or you swallow it or you absorb it or you put it on your skin, it gets into the blood veins, and from blood veins it gets into your heart, and from the heart it gets to the brain. And they have the target of the brain have the different minutes or many different seconds in which they can get there. So again, when we come back, we will talk about that, and if you have questions, you can ask us questions. You can reach us on the number 073 913 7728. 073-913-7728. So when we come back, we begin to look at those things, and we'll look at how the drugs you take that sometimes you are not aware. Many of us take Miral, which we call cat, which is a form of meth, and then we just chew it, and we don't even know exactly what it's doing to ourselves. Some people actually smell gas, petrol, to feel high, and we don't know exactly what we do. And we know many of our young people today, they are into alcohol and drugs just because it makes them feel one way or the other. All these feelings are controlled here in their brain, and we'll be talking about that later. All these feelings happen in the brain. So when we come back again, we'll be looking at that, and then we'll be looking at the administration or the route through which we use these things, and how quick they can get to our brain to alter. Again, like I said, these drugs have the chemicals they can inhibit. They can be inhibit, they can excite, and of course they can mimic the way our brain chemistry works. And that is why you see somebody who is drunk, the speeches are slurred, the visions are dimming, and then they lose their coordination because the motor neuron has been affected, and a lot of things. Again, when we come back, get ready to call us or to ask questions on 073-913-7728. My name is Joyzy Pius Egunjobi. See you then.
The Psychospiritual Therapy Institute, which we of the Luke Stera Leadership Foundation, in collaboration with Monsieur Aken, have set up, is a project that I am very excited about, and I am very happy that I am part of the birthing of this project. It is aimed at healing of pastoral agents that run into problem on account of widespread trauma, on account of burnout, on account of addictions, and all kinds of problems that pastoral agents do have. But with this project of the Psychospiritual Institute, we shall now be training experts in psychospiritual therapy who will be available in various countries, various dioceses and congregations to help their colleagues who are in difficult life situations of an emotional and psychological nature.
Are you looking for a quiet, productive, unique and relaxing location at the coast? Consolata Guest House has got it all for you. We are located in Likoni at the south coast. We have elegant, spacious and comfortable rooms at different packages for single and group occupancy at a pocket-friendly rates. We have excellent internet connection and spacious grounds for special events such as weddings and shooting. We provide fresh, delicious and healthy meals to cater for your health needs. In addition, we have a chapel to nourish you spiritually. For more information, booking and reservations, call us on 0768 117 280 or 0737 958 120. Email us at consolataguesthousemombasa@gmail.com.
Welcome back, and then again, this is Capuchin TV, and you're on this program taking care of your psycho-spiritual well-being. And we have been treating the issue of addiction once again. Before we left, we just talked about how addiction can actually relate to our brain. And but this program now, actually, we are welcoming people to call into this program on the number on the screen, 073 913 7728. If you are watching us live, you can actually call in to ask questions. I'll be very glad to answer your questions. So again, it's 073 913 7728. So we're just talking about addiction and in the brain, and there are many routes in which the different drugs and alcohol that we take actually can get to the brain. Like I mentioned that it could be smoked, and that's when it can be smoked. It can be there's some drugs can be smoked like nicotine. Some can be smoked snorted like cocaine. We have some that can be inhaled like petrol, like we just mentioned, or budesonide, and we have some that are injected straight into the veins like heroin, and we have some that are swallowed like as a pill like MDMA. Then we have some that are actually absorbed through our mucous membranes or applied through transdermal means, and then so we have all those ways. Again, you can call us for questions and then or to interact with us here in the studio. Is the call coming in? Okay. Well, so if the brain, if the target of psychoactive drugs or the psychotropic drugs is the brain, then what is the effect on the brain? And that's the question we need to ask. What exactly is the effect? And we know that the psychoactive drugs and of course psychotropic substances, they are chemical substances themselves that act primarily upon the central nervous systems, like I said earlier, and then they alter the brain functions, resulting in temporal changes in perception. They change our perception of things, they change our mood, they change our consciousness, and of course, they change our behavior. Our perceptions can be altered, our mood can be also affected, our consciousness, state of our consciousness can also be impaired or be affected and or be sharpened. Don't get me wrong, and that is why you see some people take like marijuana to sharpen in their brain so that they will want to compose music. Or you see the athletes, those who are into sports, using some chemicals also, or some drugs, so that they can perform powerfully without getting tired. And of course it can affect our behavior. So, for example, alcohol has a profound effect on the complex structure of the brain. The alcohol we take, for example, has a lot of things that it does to the brain, because it actually affects different parts of the brain. It blocks chemical signals between the brain cells, which we call the neurons, and of course leading to the common immediate symptoms of intoxication, because it has affected the way the neurons communicate in the synapse. Again, I'm not going to go deeper into that because I'm doing a TV program, and so we're not going to be looking at that. But there's this what they call synapse. That's the gap between the contact between two cells. Is a little gap there where when one cell is secreting the neurotransmitters, the chemicals in the brain, depending on what it is exactly, then the other one is able those chemicals able to bind with the receptor of the other cells, and the one that are not binded with the other cells are reuptake into the former one, clearing the space again, and that's how they're supposed to communicate normally. But when we take alcohol, for example, the flush of those chemicals, especially GABA in particular, and also what we call dopamine, becomes more in the synapse, and then it gets us into that level when we feel so good, so great, and then we are getting in deeper into intoxication. And then we know that the occipital lobe and the temporal lobe and the frontal lobes are also affected, and that is why when they are affected, that is why you see somebody who is drunk, feeling blood vision, start having a slow speech, and the hearing becomes, also affected, and most especially the lack control. That's why some people can get really, really terrible. And then again, so when it becomes terrible, so we'll begin to see that they become violent at home. And then by the following day you ask them what happened, they can't remember, because also taking alcohol and getting drunk gets you to that level of intoxication that you have a memory problem. That's one of the things that it does in the brain. Again, you can call into this program live. As I'm talking to you, you can actually interact with me right here by calling the number 073-913-7728. 073-913-7728, as you can see on the screen. So that's what happens with the brain. And by the time that happens in the brain, actually it can get us kind of a lot of troubles. And that is why it affects our behavior when we become violent, because of course the brain has been affected. It has triggered the area that makes us very violent, and we don't even have the memory of it when we are out of that thing. Is that what you want to continue to do? Is that what you want to continue to engage in? You have to think about it, and think about what this use of the alcohol and other drugs have done in your life. Again, because it makes us feel good, we don't deny that fact, but the feeling good in this situation is not authentic. Many people say, I want to use this drug to forget my sorrow. Yes, you forget your sorrow because your memory has been imparted, and then you are having these euphoric feelings, and then you think the problem is no longer there. And then because the problem is no longer there, what happens? You lose it all. A call is coming in. Hello? Hello? Do we lose it? Hello? Sorry. It's like we lost that. Again, so when it begins to make you to behave in the way you want to behave, do you think is the way you need to continue to do? When you know that anytime you are violent to your wife, or you become very aggressive to your parents or to your children, is that still what you want to do? Again, you may think you are the one in control. You're actually not the one, because the chemical are jacked. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Hello? We lost it again. Sorry about that. So, so the brain craves for the alcohol and other drugs. Remember that you are not in control. It's your brain that wanted that chemical to keep coming in. And of course, the brain gets used to when it longs for it, when the brain gets used to it, you get into what they call tolerance, where you know, over and over again, you want to feel the same way. You want to feel the same way you felt before. And then when you try to feel that, and you don't feel it with the number of doses you taken before, you needed more doses of that to keep you to feel the way you want to feel. And again, thinking a call is coming in again. Yeah. Hello? Hello? Oh, this first day that we are trying to get people to come in has been difficult. So sorry about that. I really wish we could actually interact today, so that you can answer your questions, and of course I'll clarify some issues. Is this still coming in? So we are so apologize. So hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, how are you? Thank God. Good to hear you.
Ongeza sauti. Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah. So where are you calling
I have
from?
a question.
Yes?
I have a question.
Yes, please. Tell us your name and where you are calling from.
I am calling from Kericho County.
Okay.
My question is this. I had a patient.
Yes, I'm listening, ma'am.
I had a patient who had been taking these addicts, and he was experiencing hallucination. My question is this. If he was experiencing hallucinations, and the hallucinations were coming,
yes,
like spiritual, he was seeing people chasing him, want to kill him.
okay.
Every time he is sick,
Okay.
those people are chasing him every time, and he was seeing people who are alive.
Okay.
Can I know from you if they are addicts or these are spiritual demons?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Hallucination, well, you see, there's a very thin line between a psychological issue and a spiritual issue. And of course, we know that some drugs can induce or can make somebody also to feel that way. Like I mentioned earlier, that we have some drugs that are classified as hallucinogens. So I will want to know if that person is taking some drugs. If he's taking some drugs, I will want to know what type of drugs he's taking, and then so that we will know whether it is due to the drug the person is taking. If it is not that, it could be spiritual. It can actually be spiritual, and we cannot rule that out because people do have spiritual experiences. And at the same time, it can be psychological. So I may have to have a better discussion with what is to get to know what is actually happening with that person, because the situation of hallucination has a very thin line between chemical, mental health, and then spiritual factor. So maybe you can call me on this same number that we call after the program, and then I'll be able to answer you properly because time is actually gone for today. Sorry about that. Once again, we'll be having this and having people calling in from today on. When anytime we're having this program on Thursday 2:30, every Thursday 2:30. Welcome. This is Capuchin TV again, and my name is Joyzy Pius Egunjobi, Reverend Father, on this program taking care of your psycho-spiritual well-being.